Well, good evening and a very warm welcome to Let's Get It On. With me, Suzanne Letting, now here in the studio. I have got a fascinating guest. For all you high-tech, specky people out there, you're going to love this interview because you're going to learn all about lucid dreams. I've got David in the studio with me. David, hi.
Hello, I'm pleased to meet you, everybody.
David, please tell us all about lucid dreams. We're going to take you back to the beginning because that's the best place for our listeners to learn more about your music. Where did it start?
So basically, it's a system of effects, analog effects, the ones we use when we're playing with rock and roll bands live, and coupled with digital effects. So in total, there are 9 to 10 different effects that we chained. And this system developed life of its own, basically. So we send sounds into this system. We started off with, I think the first sound was Mozart. Then we tried a couple of other bands. Then we tried city sounds. Then we tried basically everything. We send sounds into this system and let it process those sounds. And in the beginning, it mostly is a kind of an ocean of noise, a wall of sound. So nothing really, no sound that you can actually grasp. But over the time, so after mostly 10, 15 minutes, there are recognizable patterns in these oceans of noise. And by kind of adjusting a couple of parameters of the system of Lucy, we kind of try to make this pattern or these melodies more or better understandable, and eventually end up taking those patterns and using them as a creative inspiration, as a basis for new songs. There is, for example, in Dreamland, the song we released last year, there is one melody that's do, 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 do. And this was created by Lucy. So in the beginning, there was just crazy sounds. And by adjusting a couple of parameters in this ocean of noise, all of a sudden there evolved this melody. And this is what we then take as the basis for new songs.
Are there lots of people doing this with music, or are you two kind of pioneering this?
Well, I have never heard about something similar, but I would love others to try it out as well, because it's a fascinating experience indeed.
It sounds terribly complicated.
Well, it is not at all. It's basically, you take one effect pedal, and then you plug it to the next one, and then to the next one, and to the next one. Then you have a couple of parameters that you adjust in the digital sphere of creation of music. So the in our case, it's Logic. We have a couple of effects in there, and then you just have to, fool around a little with what you have chained, and that's basically it.
So you guys are based in Vienna. So is this something that is very, very, what's the word? Not topical, but very popular in Vienna? Is this the kind of culture, the metropolis kind of culture that you have there?
Well, the nice thing about Vienna is that it's very diverse. So you get everything from black metal to techno to indie pop to classical music to jazz to typical Viennese folk music, and I guess so. Yes, people try to experiment and experience a lot and try to push boundaries. I wouldn't say that's unique to Vienna, but this is definitely something that can be seen here in Vienna.
So the background of you and Phil, what is the background between you two?
So we grew up in the same valley, 200 kilometers outside of Vienna, and we got to know each other when we were kids, more or less. And 10 years ago, we moved to Vienna. We have always known each other. We have always been friends. And then 2 or 3 years ago, we ended up in the studio, as I said, fooling around, and decided to start Lucid Dreams then.
So you've been sort of releasing music since 2020, and you've released 8 songs so far. I was listening to them last night. I was on a long journey back, about 2.5 hour journey. So I thought, right, I'm going to listen to all of your songs. And I was blown away. And the only thing that kept coming into my head was, how would I describe Lucid Dreams? And I came up with, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but you're kind of ethereal electronic rock.
That's a very nice description.
Because
so I really appreciate those words, because this is what we kind of try to create with our music. Or what means ethereal to you? How would you define ethereal?
Very dreamlike, very spiritual. It's kind of you kind of done a marriage between the punchy instrumental kind of, not heavy rock, but I would say gentle rock, but there's definitely a rock element. And then you've overlaid that with these beautiful ethereal vocals, and the two just give you goosebumps listening to them, you know.
So nice to hear. And kind of, you know, we come from a rock and roll background, so we have played in rock and roll bands, both of us. So there is definitely this element. And when you were young, you kind of try to, you grow, you create your own identity, you emancipate. And this is in many cases with rock and roll music. So there has to be this rock and roll element. But, you know, the older you get, the more you try to include or get to know also different aspects of music. And the synth and the electronic music is definitely something that we're really into. And it also, I guess, transports what we want to create and make available with our music, that is a kind of an escape, a refuge where you can go to, where, you know, leaving day-to-day reality and going to a place in your head, obviously, that belongs to you and that you can create yourself. And this is the fascinating thing about music. We have this this journey to a refuge when we create the music, and in the best case, and that's why it's so nice of you to say so and to think so, in the best case also created in the minds and the hearts of the listeners. And, you know, the cherry on top then is the life experience. So in a concert, you create this moment and then you live this moment with your audience at the very same time. So you go to a place together that exists for 1 hour, and then you get back to reality. But this hour is so special.
I'm going to come on to the theatrical element of you guys, because again, I've been looking at all of your pictures, and you know, as I say, I wish I was about 30 years younger, because I think you do take people on a journey. Because what is the surprise is the rock element of the musicianship, and then this lovely soft ethereal voice that's coming in, and it kind of floats above and below and in the middle of all of the instrumentation. And when you're listening to it, you're kind of, you think you know where the song's going to go, and then you're beautifully surprised because it goes off into some other little realm, and it stays there for a little while, and then it brings you back to the first realm, and you're constantly moving and shifting through the music as you're listening to each track. So I think we ought to listen to a track, having now met Lucy and she's interrupted our system. We're going to listen to Rosalie. David, tell us a little bit about Rosalie. How did that come about, and how much input has Lucy had in this?
Lucy's input in here was actually very basic. So the drums and the bass line are based on Lucy's ideas. So there was a pattern, very repetitive and very strong, that we eventually used as the basis for the bass. So we built our bass on an idea of Lucy. And then we said, okay, we've been thinking a lot lately, and with all the super mad things going on at the moment, we wanted to have a look into the future. We wanted to see, okay, how does our future look like? How can the future of the society on planet Earth, or the community on planet Earth, look like? And eventually realized that everybody has to do their own small bits in order to create a positive and bright future, a tomorrow that is worth driving to. And we called this future state Rosalie. So it's not a place, it's not a person, it's a future state. This is Rosalie.
A bit like the ancient Greeks, Romans had the vision of Babylon.
For example, yes.
Okay. Well, we better have a listen. This is Rosalie by Lucid Dreams, but don't go away because we've got plenty more to dig and delve into with David very shortly here on Spectrum On Air. I'm so pleased that I got introduced to you because, you know, it's always fascinating for me to know how you all make your music and how you all put it all together. And it's incredibly complicated to make a sequence and do all of that. So that I can understand, and maybe some of our listeners can understand, when you put in various sequences into Lucy, so you might have different drum patterns. Is it Lucy that breaks it down into one kind of rhythmic, and that's what you then end up going with because you think, now we've got all of these elements together. We've got one set. Now we're going to build the next bit. So you're kind of layering the cake as you're going.
Yeah. So what Lucy gives us is inspiration. It's not that there is an artificial intelligence writing songs or music for us, but it's a creative input or the basis, the ideas that Lucy provides us with. And for example, in Rosalie, it was this pattern that was, created by Lucy and eventually taken up by us.
See, this is what fascinates me. And obviously, I read that she has sometimes created the lyrics for you. So how has that worked?
So basically, we sent a couple of texts. So we recorded, we plugged the micro into the system and read a couple of lines. I think it was Ishiguro and then James Joyce. We read it into the system, and again with our vocal sound, Lucy started to create something that eventually was indecipherable, more or less. It was white noise. It was crazy, a crazy mix of sounds. And then we again adjusted a couple of parameters and let Lucy come up with some words, or at least those words, the words that we understood were provided by Lucy then.
I love this idea of this artificial band member, guiding you two in a direction where you're not really sure what the outcome's going to be. When you put it into her, you've no idea, have you, what's going to come out?
Absolutely. And that's the fascinating thing, and that's what motivates us to just make more and more and more and more, because every time it's something new, every time it's something unexpected.
Yes, so that's really the thing, isn't it? It's unexpected.
Exactly, absolutely.
So turning about when you said you do your gigs, and obviously you're doing a performance, I've seen some of the pictures. You wear very theatrical. So there's a theatrical element to your show, isn't there? Very much so, because you've got lasers and lights, and Lucy comes down, and it's very much high sort of tech, almost gaming type. Are you two gamers?
Yeah, that's nice. Actually, not.
No.
Obviously, like when we were younger, we played a couple of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater and stuff like that, but not anymore. But we try to communicate the existence of Lucy also in our visuals, and that's why we decided to kind of step back as human beings. I'm putting on a mask, I'm wearing this golden suit on stage, and we let Lucy stand in the first row. So yeah, we kind of want to give her the spotlight, more or less, because she's such an integral member of this project.
You pay homage to her by allowing her to be there at the front.
Exactly, yeah. So we have a glass ball, more or less, that goes with us on stage, that is lit during the show, and this is the visual representation of Lucy on stage.
Wow. And of course, Vienna is the place for masks, isn't it? So you have no shortage of ideas for masks there.
Absolutely.
Have you guys gigged? Just give me just a second. I get so carried away with talking, I get a dry throat. Have you guys gigged in the UK?
Not yet, but I'd love to come to the UK and play live, because it is, after all, the homeland of music, of pop culture, of rock and roll, of playing live.
Well, we've got to find you a theatre. Yeah, definitely. I visualize you in a lovely theatre, and do you think I suppose people, because of the rhythm of the music, it's very danceable. But actually, I think visually, people must just stand and like, whoa, what's going to come next? Because you are very visual, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. In the best case, people are intrigued by what they see, but this is only the first step. So what we want to achieve, especially in our live shows, is being kind of a mirror, so that people eventually find back to themselves and can kind of project their wishes, their positive ideas for themselves, for their futures, can project those ideas and wishes onto Lucy and eventually make them real. So we want to be a basis for people's aspirations, or for the visualization or the realization of people's aspirations, because it's so often the case that people, have desires, have wishes, and I'm including myself here, obviously. I also have wishes and desires that I can't really manifest, but you need a certain medium to kind of make things real, and this is what we try to be for people. And
you must appeal to a lot of youngsters that love this kind of high-tech spec kind of visual show. They might, because it's right up their street, isn't it? They get it because they've grown up in the technical age, haven't they?
well, hopefully, and at this point, a thank you to you for giving us the opportunity to letting us, showcase what we are, who we are, what we have.
Well, we're going to listen to another song before we dive back in and ask some more questions. So the next song is Know My Number. Now I listened to it and I was driving along to this and I forgot where I was going because I just got so absorbed to it. David, tell our listeners a little bit about this song. What does it mean?
It's basically our interaction with Lucy, and it's a song written out of the position of the artificial band member, Lucy. So she wants to know her number.
Mm-hmm.
She says, I want to know my number. I want to know who I am. And it's about, everybody's, I wouldn't say struggle, but everybody's challenge in life to find out who one is and who you are as a member of society, as a member of smaller groups of people, and trying to create your own identity or to find out your own identity. And in this case, it's Lucy wanting to know her number, her name. I want to know my code. I want to know why I am here, why I am existing. So it is kind of a sci-fi pop approach. Lucy, at least that's what we believe, does not think the way humans think. But obviously there is a certain characteristic, a certain persona in this concept of Lucy that also wants to know who it is, where it's going, why it's here. And that's what Know My Number is about.
And obviously we humans ask the very same question, don't we, at times? So let's have a listen to Know My Number by Lucid Dreams. But don't go away because we've got more fascinating questions to ask David in a minute here on Spectrum On Air, the colourful voice of radio.
Once there was a flower bed open, a rose, I would meet my baby there. Where? Oh yeah, once there was a little while dancing in style, I would see my baby, oh mine. Come on and take me to the place I was born. Take me, make me taste my own soul. Me
David, you two are quite deep, aren't you? You're quite deep thinkers. So do you, like most of the musicians that I meet, have day jobs? And what do you do?
Yes, we do have day jobs. Obviously, the goal is to, one day live off music entirely. But for now, it's especially with the royalties you get from streaming and with not a lot of live shows that were possible in the past 2 years. It's not possible yet to live off music completely, but that's obviously and definitely the goal. In the meantime, I am a teacher, and Phil works for the Red Cross.
Does he? So is he involved with Ukraine at the moment?
Yes, kind of. So first there was the vaccination centers, and now there's a refugee center where he's also involved. Absolutely. And so I'm also involved with Ukraine, with the conflict. Sorry to interrupt you, because it really it touches me a lot, and I cannot understand why a single person is emotionally able to commit such atrocities. Like the very moment you see that your actions have fatal consequences for, even if it's only one person, it's more than too much. When you see that, for me it's impossible to understand why you do not stop what you're doing when you see that your actions have those consequences. And that's why I 2 or 3 weeks ago went to the main station in Vienna and approached a couple of people who looked like they were just coming in from Ukraine. And since then, I'm in a very nice exchange with a family from Odessa. I managed to find them flat here in Vienna. I managed to get the 2 kids to schools, and just be here as a contact person for this family. And this is what kind of satisfies my thirst for contribution. I just couldn't bear not being able to do anything, so yes. I try to do this. What the family is giving back to me is very rewarding. It's emotionally very rewarding.
And this is the kind of culture that I think is growing amongst most humanitarian people, is pay it forward. We have got a generation that always wants everything now, and you teach, so you see this, but to actually try and turn that table and make people think about paying things forward with no expectation of return has got to be the greatest gift that we can give one another. And that
you may have read the book Pay It Forward.
Yes. And this is what I think you two have brought to your music. So I'm so pleased that we've talked about what you both do, because you're both kind of you're teaching the next generation. And obviously, Philip is looking after, current, past and future generations in the work that he does. And I think I could feel something in your music that was bringing a kind of peace and a kind of light, with the music that you're doing. So do you both sing? Because there is one track and there is an echo of KO. Is it KO? I can't remember whether that was Pacific Shore. No, I don't think it was. It was KO, Make Me Your Pick or something. Is that right?
Oh, okay. Let me be your pick.
Let me be your pick. Now, KO. And that vocal in the background was like, it was like a very ancient call, which was coming through. And so please do go look up Lucid Dreams. And that leads me to, where can people find your music, David, if they want to find out more about you?
So I would say the hub for everything online is lucidreams.net. From there, you have links to your preferred streaming services, to our YouTube channel, and there you can also join the Dream Team, the group of our dear followers and listeners. We always try to, create a community, something people can, not rely on, but people can go-to people can be a part of, and can identify themselves with. This is where you can just live your dream. You join the dream team. You if you want to get exclusive Lucid Dreams content, and this is all on lucydreams.net. On Instagram, and all the other social media handles are d.dreamsdp.
And have you got a YouTube channel, David? Have you videoed some of your concerts?
Yeah, absolutely. We have, the visual aspects of Lucid Dreams is very important. And we had the honor of collaborating with a couple of super interesting, fascinating artists. One of them is also Vienna-based Esther Stocker. She is a very renowned visual artist. And for a song we released last year too, it's called Silver Lines. She has given us a completely new face, a completely new identity based on her own style, based on her art. It's black and white only, and we shot the music video in one of her showrooms, and this was a super interesting experience. And also with the other videos, we try to, always create this feeling of we now move to a realm where we can be free, where we can escape reality, even if it's only for a couple of minutes. And what you need for that, in addition to the music, is striking visuals, and this is what we try to create.
And that, I guess, is a stress relief buster for you too, because you're in both very stressful situations in your day jobs, aren't you? So I guess this is an escapism for both of you, and it recharges your batteries. We're going to move on because we're going to run out of time. I know we are, to Dreamland. So tell us a little bit about Dreamland. What was the inspiration behind that?
Well, this was probably the song that represents the innate concept of Lucid Dreams best. So creating Dreamland, creating a space you can escape to, you can find yourself in, you can recreate yourself. Everybody has their own Dreamland, and if we manage to create a Dreamland for people where they can find peace and joy, even if it's only for 3 minutes or 30 seconds, 3 minutes and something like that, then it's what we try to, or what we want to achieve with the music. So first of all, creating a Dreamland for ourselves, the escape you mentioned beforehand, and in the best case also creating a refuge for the listeners. And this is what Dreamland is all about. And in the video, there's Mr. Mirandula. This is the visual representation of this journey. So it's an astronaut flying through space, more or less, in search of Dreamland. And in the end, he's running on the bars of Saturn. He doesn't have any idea where he's going. And the more he's, or the longer he's on the way, the more he realizes that this Dreamland is something that's inside of himself and cannot be found anywhere out there.
So he went searching, but realized it was in him all the time.
Exactly.
Well, let's have a listen to Dreamland then, but don't go away, because we are going to talk to David a little bit more, and we've got 2 more tracks to share with you. So stay with us, and we'll be back very shortly.
lights can give us a ride. Love in the air is a fiery affair, like the soul of a star. We're about to set foot up in the air in a rocket. I don't care. Hold my hand as we stand in a faraway
So David, you teach. What do you teach?
Languages. I studied English and Italian. The second one probably being, the most beautiful language there is on planet Earth. And I'm teaching kids from the age of 15 to 19. And this is a very, rewarding thing, because the kids have already developed their own identity. They know who they are. You can relate to their problems and troubles. You can, with my experience in life, I'm twice as old as the kids I'm teaching. I can provide them with some input at least. And yeah, it's very emotionally very rewarding.
I bet they think you're dead cool. Do they know that you have lucid dreams? Do they know that you have a band?
I try to, keep private and teaching profession. I try to keep those two things apart. But yes, they have found out, and sometimes they also, we have never talked about it. That's...
because they don't want to cross that barrier, do they? But I bet secretly they go, "We've got a dead cool teacher." Do you ever? I suppose, do you ever get invited to go into the music lessons, or be invited by the music teacher to perhaps experiment or anything?
Not yet, but that's a pretty good idea. But I know that the kids listen to the stuff, because sometimes, or there was this one moment where I entered the classroom and there was Silverlines playing, and they all of a sudden turned it off, and being a little, how do you call it in English? Being a little
them or you?
I'm missing the word here, but
yeah,
they didn't want me to hear it.
Right. They thought, but they were all probably thinking before you came in, gosh, this is dead cool, because I think Lucid Dreams is very much up their street, and of course the visuals that they probably all, they're all gaming, aren't they? And I just wondered whether your music was ever, could you put it forward to some of the gaming institutions? Because let's, for example, Disney, if they did like Tron, some of your music in that film Tron, I in my head as I'm driving, I've got this whole visualization going on in my head, about the application of your music within that kind of. So do you think you two would ever do a film using all your music and all your characters?
Well, we'd be more than honored to contribute our music to a movie, to a film. In my opinion, it's a fascinating style of, or how do you say, a fascinating domain of art. So creating a movie is something that takes a lot of effort and has so many things you do not see in the first place. Everything that's behind the scenes in the production, but is super important for the actual product. So in my opinion, it's a very, very interesting and fascinating type of art. And if we can contribute our music to a movie, I'd be more than happy to do so, because video is nothing without sound, and vice versa.
Yeah.
So they kind of they depend on each other. Yeah,
absolutely. And then you've got the total immersing. I can imagine, again, putting on 3D. We've now got the 3D and immersing yourself into both your music and the visuality of that music. It literally would probably the best 10-15 minutes of somebody de-stressing, I think, because your vocals are very unique. Do you both sing on?
No, it's only me that sings.
It's only you that sings. Where does this very gentle voice, because you've got quite a range, haven't you? Because there's a very ethereal type element to your voice, and then you sometimes come really rocky and deep, you know. So your range is quite wide, I think.
If you say so.
You're not trained as a singer. This is just you being you.
I am now, and it's super interesting to do that. But already, you know, at the age of 12, 13, when I was at school, I also sung in the choir, and the head of the choir said, "Yeah, David, you go sopran," and everybody was like, "Okay, yeah, right." But yes, I have the physical possibilities to go very high, and I like to play around with that a lot, because this adds to the, you so nicely call it, ethereal character of the music.
Yeah, well, we're going to listen to another song now. This is I was intrigued about the title, but the actual orchestration of this is beautiful. So this is Lucy Dreams, and this is Silver Lines. So what does that mean? What's the song about?
So in our opinion, the silver line is the middle between black and white. You could call it gray, but you could also call it silver, and it makes it a little shimmering and exciting. And this is our call for the fact that in life nothing is black and white. So there is always this silver line that is the real truth. The real truth is never black and white. And we as human beings, we have to be ready to accept. If we are black, we have to accept the white. And we have to not only accept it, but also be ready to take the positive parts of our opposites in order to grow. If we are black, we should take from the white. If we are white, we should take from the black. And I'm not talking about skin color. I'm not talking about the typical dichotomies in life, but about everything. So if I like the summer, I should also enjoy the winter, because there are good bits of winter. If I like holidays in the city, I should also go hiking at least once or twice a year, and vice versa. So this is our call for seeing the positive aspects of the opposites of the things.
So what you've done is you've created the reality between the yin and the yang, and the silver in between is the bleed between the black and the white, the yin and the yang.
That's very nice. Yeah, very nice way of seeing it.
Very clever. There's a new emblem then for the yin and the yang, because there's the silver line in the middle, and as there is a saying, isn't there? Everything has a silver lining.
Yeah.
And that's when you're prepared to accept the merging between the black and the white.
Yeah. And that's where the word game comes from also.
Very clever. Very. So we better have a listen, I think. Let's have a listen to Lucy Dreams, Silver Lines.
Break into another one's mind, 'cause another one's child is just the birth of memory. In every wish you have a longer desire, walk with me, I wanna be higher up above the labor of the power you need to prove the golden moon. I wanna be with you tonight, I wanna walk a silver line now, so we know how. Like a tiger burning bright, you're gonna fuck me up in time now, so we know how. My candy clue will then guide you to the gap that is time. Inside our heads we see a million moments, so to keep the power on going, it's okay, 'cause another one's kid is here to stay. Oh, you can pray for golden days.
David, tell us what's next for Lucid Dreams. What have you got coming up in 2022?
So on May 13th, we will release our upcoming single. It's Rosalie, the one we heard in the beginning. And then in June, there will be the release of our first full-length album. It's called Götterfunken. It's a German title for an English-speaking band, but it represents so much that is important for us. Basically, it's taken from the anthem of the European Union, Freude schöner Götterfunken, and for us it represents peace. For us, it represents the collaboration with Lucy. We jokingly always say that the sparks that we create in working with Lucy, those are the Götterfunken. So the literal translation would be God's sparks. This would be the Götterfunken. And yeah, we want to have this creative approach, but also want to convey a political message, especially in times like these.
Of course.
I think the European Union more than ever, and it's one of the most important and one of the best political projects, or it's actually much more than a project, but you know what I mean, that has ever been accomplished, because it has given us peace for a lot of time already, and I hope it will continue to do so.
So are all of the tracks that we've listened to today going to be on that album, or is there some more tracks, new tracks coming?
Dreamland will be on it, Silverlines will be on it, and Rosalie will be on it, yes. But the rest of the tracks will be completely new ones, and we can't wait to put that out. It's
neither can I.
For us.
I can't wait to hear it as well. And obviously we will work our way through that album for you, David, and we'll share it with our listeners, because I think after speaking to you today, we've got much more of a colourful view now of what Lucid Dreams is all about. And it's fascinating that you're right up there, I think. And we're going to have to try and get you over to the UK, I think, at some point. We're going to have to find a venue, which would be awesome. Would be absolutely awesome. So we are running out of time, and I knew this would happen, and it always does, because I can always speak to you artists for ages, because I learn so much from you and it's so fascinating. We're going to close with the last track. This is Lucid Dreams. So I guess it's after what we've spoken about, this is quite explanatory. But just before we introduce Lucid Dreams, just tell us, our listeners again, David, where they can find your music.
So just go online to www.lucydreams.net, and this is your hub, which will take you wherever you want to go in the digital world: Instagram, Facebook, on the streaming platforms, and so on. And let me also take the moment to thank you for giving us the opportunity to, showcase who we are, and thank you very much for your inspiring questions. It's been super nice to kind of reflect on what we're doing together.
Well, you get so busy in doing what you're doing, don't you? Sometimes you need to have somebody get you by the scruff of the neck and say, "Oh, come out and talk about it." So thank you for joining me. Without you guys, we wouldn't exist. And it's lovely to be able to share your artistry with all of our listeners. So we're going to say goodbye to David. Please say hello to Philip for us and wish him well in all his endeavours and the hard work that he's doing. Look after those kids that you're looking after. Your cover may well be blown. But tell us, as we draw out, I want to talk a little bit about the last track. This is Experiencer, and this is again a beautiful track. And just explain to our listeners again what Experiencer is. How did it come about? Before we listen to it, David, and we have to let you go.
Unfortunately, because it's been really lovely talking to you. Experiencer is a song about our experiences on the intersection of digital and analog world. So we have a lot of possibilities today, but also a lot of things that we have to be super careful about. And the experiences we make on a daily basis on this intersection between virtual and real world cannot, in my opinion, be kept apart anymore. So we have we have one personality in real life and a lot of personalities in the virtual world. And what we experience as this kind of coexisting identity or identities, what we experience has to be, handled with care, I would say. So we have to be careful about how we develop as human beings. Obviously, the digital world gives us, a vast amount of opportunities, but it's also something to be careful about. And this is what we want to communicate with experience.
Yeah, I think I got that when I was listening to it, because again, the words and the vocals that come in, there is always a message within them. And you're always engaged to listen very carefully because you want to know what the message is, and they're just beautiful, David. So we're going to listen to Experiencing now as we say goodbye to David. David, thanks again for coming into the studio. It's been an absolute pleasure. Please let us know when the album's ready for release, won't you? And maybe we'll get you to chat again once that's out, and we'll have a little update on the album, because I want to know about all these other tracks that are going to be on there.
Yeah, pleasure was mine. So thanks again for having me.
You're welcome, David. Take care. And here is Experiencer from Lucid Dreams.
So long.